Hello. And welcome to Cigar City Radio, episode 18. I'm your host, Randy Ojeda, and making the magic happen, a man who likes the way he looks so much that he loves himself nightly, Mr. Jason Solanes.
I was wondering if after all these...
Yeah? Is that what you were wondering? And joining us this week as well is our wonderful intern, Michelle.
Okay, Randy, now let's get in formation.
Is that enough Grammy puns for us this week?
Never.
Never enough Grammy puns. Michelle, if you don't know, she's actually been sitting in on most of the podcasts that we've done, diligently taking notes, and we finally let her have a microphone. It makes us sound so terrible, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to know I'm the resident feminist here, so that statement also makes this sound terrible, that I was like locked away and wasn't allowed to speak, but I finally got the mic.
Yeah. You always had the option to speak.
Yeah, and it was never because you were a woman.
Yeah.
No, they're great to me.
If you like Cigar City Radio, we hope that you subscribe to the show on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you get podcasts. We hope that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Cigar City Radio. And if you have any burning questions that you just have to ask us, email us at cigarcityradio@gmail.com.
This episode of Cigar City Radio was recorded at the Blind Tiger Cafe in Ybor City. The Blind Tiger is a 1920s speakeasy-style coffee shop serving coffee, tea, vegan pastries, and more, with locations in Ybor City and Seminole Heights. Check them out at blindtigercafe.com.
We're also very excited to announce the Noche Buena Concert Series. The Noche Buena Concert Series is a series of showcases and parties that we will be hosting at a number of music festivals across the country. The first Noche Buena party will take place during South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. It'll be on Wednesday, March 15th at Stay Gold. We've rounded up members of the Cigar City management family and some of our favorite up-and-coming bands for an all-day, all-night bash. For the full lineup and all the details, head to cigarcitymanagement.com/SXSW. This week's episode of Cigar City Radio is a Grammy preview podcast.
We can take a look before the look.
Yeah, we're looking in to the Grammys, and we're joined this week by music editor for Creative Loafing and veteran of the show, Mr. Ray Roa, as well as newcomer to the show, frontman for Samurai Shotgun, Mateo Prince. They joined us to talk about the Grammys, talk about their opinions on what's going on in the premier music award show, the Grammys.
The Grammys.
Yeah.
The Grammys?
Yeah, the Grammys. So we recorded this episode on Wednesday, February 1st. And actually, was it while we were doing the episode, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm 95% sure it happened within like the last 10 minutes of us recording, because I pulled my phone out and I immediately saw that Beyonce announced that she was pregnant with twins, and it broke the internet. So as we were talking about Lemonade and the potential for her to win some Grammys, she was, winning the internet with her announcement.
She was squeezing those lemons life gave her and popping out some twins.
So is she gonna get a Grammy bump or a baby bump? Actually, also announced right after we recorded the episode is the fact that Chance the Rapper will be performing live at the Grammys. So another little note that maybe he'll be the one to take some of the Grammys that he's nominated for. I have to say he's got to get something if they're gonna put him on the show, right? Yeah. But either way, it was a fun conversation. We definitely enjoyed talking serious music issues with Ray and Mateo. And you get to hear Michelle on this one.
I do have a voice.
Yeah.
This is the voice in your head.
Yeah.
And also me, Michelle. And we would like to know your thoughts on all things Grammys. Who do you think's going to win? Who's going to take home the most Grammys? And which performances will be your favorite? So let us know at cigarcityradio@gmail.com.
Oh, I'm taking home the most Grammys. That's for damn sure.
So here it is, episode 18.
I know not all of us are super coherent on what's going on with the Grammys, so if we need to like,
Dude, I think
know,
it's a
cut-
great conversation between 4 young people who pay attention to the Grammys but don't fully understand. I mean, you're voting on it, right?
I am a member. Yeah, full disclosure, I am a member of the Recording Academy, so I did actually already vote. So my votes are in. I'm not gonna. I don't really want to say who I voted for. I don't even know if I'm allowed.
I might
to.
ask you some questions about like how you get in there, the nomination process.
Yeah.
Obviously, we kind of know the difference between a nomination and a submission and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
it's interesting. One of the interesting things that I found out about the Recording Academy is that I get to vote for every category. You know, so like best bluegrass album or best, whatever, I'm voting for it. And I think that's interesting because I haven't listened to a bluegrass album ever, maybe,
Right.
So it's like, how do I get to decide
Right.
who's the winner of categories that I don't really know much about? And, you can choose, you don't have to vote for every category, which is usually what I did. I felt like it wasn't fair if I didn't have any actual knowledge on a specific type of music for me to weigh in and say, oh, no, yeah, this is clearly the best album by somebody that I've never heard.
Right.
So I think that's interesting that you'd think that maybe it would be more segmented where people would, if you have an expertise or whatever in a certain field, that would be the one that you're going to vote for. I'm sure if we did that, we might wind up with some more interesting, like, best rap albums or best alternative albums, because I think you're only sort of scratching the surface with the wide range of people that are voting on it,
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah. You checking out Michelle's notes?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
The Grammy conversation is intense because it's this big thing that is just now starting to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now, see, people got confused and they said that mixtapes are eligible for the Grammys, which isn't quite right. The real wording is that albums that are not necessarily for sale, but up for streaming. So from one of the majors like Spotify or Apple Music, something like that, if they're on one of those platforms, even if they're not actually an album that you can go into a store and buy, they're still eligible for Grammys, which allowed, Chance the Rapper to get in for a number of nominations. He was really the big one. Is that something that we think might continue? We'll see more albums that are just, digital only, streaming only, that are this popular?
I think so.
I mean, I think if it diversifies, and I don't want to use the word diversify too much just because it's going to be like the hot word or whatever.
Yeah.
All we're really talking about is that, well, there is a diversity problem, but if that means a better swath and more representative, whatever collection of music is represented at the Grammys, because right now, the Grammys, they don't really represent not even a tenth of the best. Like, it just does not. It seems, I mean, I hate to use the word, but a little rigged in terms of selection, right?
Yeah.
It's mostly just the popular artists.
Right.
There's a lot more artists out there that are great and have great albums. I mean, just look at like Pitchfork's, their top album list of 2016, Fader, Noisy, and some other smaller blogs. So.
And see, the thing, you mentioned that those are smaller blogs, but those are
Still big.
those are big blogs. I mean,
They're
those
still
are some of the-
taste-making.
Yeah, those are some of the taste-making blogs
publications
in the world.
that
But
listen to good music.
But they don't really have a say in what's nominated for the Grammys or what's out for the Grammys.
But why is that? Like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
what is a selection process like, and how much do artists know about submitting their work and deadlines and things like that? You know what I mean? I think that should be a greater thing. And then who is actually listening to it and vetting it? Because we all know it's impossible to keep up with just the music that we're into, let alone everybody that's going to submit for some kind of Grammy nomination.
Yeah.
You get Drake 8 Grammy nominations.
Yeah, 8 Grammy
But
nominations.
okay,
for
so
Drake.
why does Views get so much attention? Is it because it reached the top of the charts and streaming? Is it because of album sales? It's the Recording Academy, right? So
Yeah.
they are interested in the well-being of the music industry as a whole.
Right. So we are looking for sales. I mean, that's part
Is
of
it though?
Yeah,
I don't know.
think so. I
mean,
think so.
I think it has
Yeah,
to.
that's one of.
Yeah. It's a
I'd love to
record.
hear that or see a quote from somebody that's higher up in the academy to say we do look at sales,
Yeah.
because I'm sure they do, right?
It's got to be. It's got to be sales, quality. How many charts they have charted as well.
Yeah.
So it's probably a number of things. It's got to be.
And Drake was on all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drake's really on everything.
If Drake put out a Broadway song, he would be on top of the Broadway chart. I mean,
I'm sure
crazy.
he would.
Yeah.
Sure he would.
Nuts.
But
the guy's like a silver bullet, man.
yeah. And that's what's weird about the Grammys are in a place now where it's like people aren't looking at the Grammys the same way they look at the Oscars or even the Emmys. You know, like the Oscars get this big attention where everybody goes out and they see every movie that's nominated for the major awards. But I know a lot of people that have never heard any of these albums on Album of the Year, you know? Like, why is it that the Oscars and other award shows continue to like grow in prestige and continue to be what they are, whereas the Grammys are like,
I mean, do you really think they're growing in prestige?
I mean-
What do you mean by that?
I guess that's a broad way to put it. Yeah.
I do think that the Oscars is kind of coming close to what the Grammys is in terms of like public reception. The Oscars, time after time, like will introduce a film that maybe isn't top of the line. Like La La Land right now is getting all this buzz. La La Land would be what Drake's Views would be. Yeah, it might be like entirely perfect in production or composition and everything, but it was way too popular. It's mainstream in a sense, and people receive it that way. So I think like, and the diversity issue is the Oscars like main problem is that they're not diverse. I think when you see award shows like the independent, like the Film Independent Spirit Awards, that might be something that we could get for music if that's an opportunity that we can build, is like actually have something that focuses on artists that maybe aren't hitting top 40 or whatever, but actually have the opportunity to be represented. But I think the Oscars and the Grammys are pretty parallel in a sense of issues.
Yeah, Michelle's our resident film buff here. So, you know.
It's awesome. And you make a good point. It's harder to watch more movies maybe than albums, for sure.
Yeah.
Requires more time.
Yeah.
And I think that for movies, there's like a certain criteria of quality that they're looking at, but it's hard to really figure out like what are we talking in terms of quality when it comes to music. Like I feel like it's a way more of a subjective thing. Yeah. So I think with the Grammys, with the award show, what really separates them, or I think should be the live performances, right? I mean, should be the show's opportunity to showcase like, okay, look at all this talent we have in the recorded arts. There actually are some pretty good performances this year. So Anderson .Paak is going to be joined by A Tribe Called Quest.
Ooh.
That's pretty
And I think
awesome.
Dave Grohl's on that one, too.
Wow.
Oh, and Dave Grohl, right.
I'm down
Right.
for that.
So that sounds amazing. Then you have The Weeknd is performing with Daft Punk, of course. You know, they had that big song. Alicia Keys is performing with Maren Morris, who's a country artist, I believe. She's nominated for Best New Artist, but that's pretty
Be
cool.
interesting, yeah.
But I like the like mashup style that they're kind of going with this year, where they're like, we're just going to throw a couple artists together and see what happens. And then of course you got your John Legend, your Bruno Mars, your Metallica, you know. The ones Bruno Mars is the one you would expect, you know, right?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Is that enough though? I mean, do those performances make you want to go and check out the Grammys this year? Are you going to tune in?
The Anderson .Paak with Tribe and Dave Grohl.
But is that enough to sit through
No.
the whole award show?
I've never been into award shows like that.
Yeah.
You know? I used to watch the MTV Music Awards when I was younger, and then year after year it died down and started getting more and more bland.
Yeah.
And, you know, MTV is just a machine. So
I think it's a two-part conversation, too, because your question was, is it worth it for you to sit in front of the couch, essentially, and sit through the Grammys and watch however many awards they award that night? But really, the other side of that question is how many times are we going to watch it again on the internet the next day?
That's
Yeah.
the
Like,
thing.
is it enough to make you want to wait and watch for, you know? Because I will watch them,
Yeah.
and I will probably sit through the Grammys just in case something happens,
Right.
which probably isn't.
but it'll still be on, you know, Instagram and
Yeah,
Twitter.
I mean, all those
the next
websites
day.
are ready for all that to happen. The posts are ready. They're ripping the stream if they can, and then they'll
Yeah.
post the official one later. Like,
Yeah.
you know, everybody's going to watch it on the internet. So, I mean,
Especially a generation from, say, age 14 to 22, 23.
Yeah.
Just straight social media.
I guess a good metric of it, too, will be to watch to see how much album streams go up, like Michelle was saying, right after the Grammys. In those hours afterwards, you know, the day or two afterwards, did the streaming counts go up? And then how are the charts affected after the Grammys? And then even further than that,
Yeah.
record sales.
Yeah.
And then you know, I don't know. I mean, what is it all about? Spreading your music, obviously, but if the Academy wants to see numbers, they're just going to be okay with more streams because God knows how many people are going to actually buy the record.
Yeah, but I'm sure a lot of people are. There's probably people making their Grammy playlists right now so that they can listen to some stuff and get hip to it. Yeah, I would like to see Bruno Mars do a Prince tribute. That would be great. Cool. I think he just becomes well, but I mean I feel like of anybody he's the closest to Prince, you know. But David Bowie was
Bowie's going to win
nominated.
some Grammys.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a good segue. Let's dive into some of these categories here. So we got the big four, you know, album of the year, record of the year, song of the year, and then best new artist. So album of the year, what do we've got Adele, 25, Beyonce, Lemonade, Justin Bieber, Purpose, Drake, Views, and Sturgill Simpson's A Sailor's Guide to Earth, which seems like the oddball one of the five nominated. See, I was a big fan of Sturgill Simpson's SNL performance. That was actually my introduction to the artist. I hadn't listened to the record until I saw the SNL performance, and the organ player was like on top of the organ, shaking the whole organ, and I'm like, yeah, I need to listen to this. And the record's not bad, but at the same time, I mean, I don't feel like anybody outside of Adele and Beyonce has a real chance. Or am I wrong?
I'll say Drake, Beyonce, and Adele. Yeah.
I think everybody counts Adele out. I mean, she's a little bit more... I mean, she got a powerful voice, but she's a little less exciting than a Drake or Beyonce. But
right.
I don't know. That Beyonce record, you put that on, man. I don't care what you think about pop music or anything, but you kind of want to fight somebody. You get sad. Like, it's a pretty emotive... It's a great album altogether, and I definitely enjoy it more than Drake. I love Sturgill Simpson. He's probably a sleeper.
Yeah.
I think he's just happy to be in there. I think he even was on record saying that I shouldn't even be nominated in this category. So-and-so should be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot that's left off that list. You
Right.
know, I mean, you're talking about major albums, but also like things like I would have loved to have seen, you know, Black Star actually nominated, you know, David Bowie's record. I would have liked to see Paul Simon's new record, which, I mean, I'm just a big Paul Simon mark, but, you know.
Which one would you take out to put Paul Simon or
thing.
Bowie in?
That's the thing. Well, then I think the Grammys should go the way of the Oscars and expand the album of the year category specifically, because I think 5 albums, you know, we're going to limit the whole year to 5 albums.
That's crazy.
No, yeah.
That's crazy.
Like maybe like 8 to 10 would probably be more representative of, like, you know, you can throw a couple things in there that are deserving, you know, that should be there.
It is. I mean, it is a very slim list, but at the same time, it's just about that discipline and say we're only going to pick 5, and there's going to be a bunch of other categories where some really creative people are really going to shine, hopefully. You know, because Bowie's art director will probably win a packaging award.
True.
And, I mean, I'm okay with 5, you know,
Yeah.
selections. I think it shows a lot of restraint and might not be representative. Definitely isn't.
It's definitely not representative, but it does show who. I mean, you know, Adele, Beyonce, Bieber, and Drake. I mean, those are the biggest names in pop music right now.
Yeah, but I mean, musically, I have a problem with Bieber. Like, I love some Bieber songs, but I mean, really to put it up there with album of the year, like to hold that one up against the Sturgill Simpson album and say, hey, this guy put out this concept album, and then. I'm not dogging Bieber, man. I get down with Bieber. I can jam.
Bieber would be my choice for song of the year, ironically.
Are you talking about Love Yourself?
Yeah, Love Yourself.
So, I thought the same thing. I mean, Formation
well, also
is powerful.
It is. So
I might have to renege on that.
So record of the year versus song of the year. A lot of people don't know this, but the difference is record of the year is the actual recording and the sound and how the song is performed, whereas the song of the year is the actual songwriting award. You know, so what is the best written song? And that's where, for me, Love Yourself by Justin Bieber, which is also co-written by Ed Sheeran. So don't forget that this isn't just a Justin Bieber song. It's got some songwriting chops. To me, that was one of the better songs from the popular sphere for this year. You know, it was the only song that I could hear over and over again and hear covers of and hear people doing different versions in their own style and being like, wow, this is a really, like, beautiful song. It's a shame that it's by Justin Bieber, you know?
I thought Bieber did a good job with what he was handed for that. You hear that song on the radio and you're like, damn, could you imagine writing this song and saying, I'm taking this to Bieber.
Yeah.
And then we're going to put this rinky-dink, really simple guitar riff on there. and it's gonna sell millions because it's the catchiest fucking thing in the world.
Yep.
And it's about who's it about?
I don't even know.
It's about his ex, or like like it would be directed at his most recent ex, which is who?
I can't remember.
The biggest ex would be Selena Gomez.
He's always
Gomez.
dating very good-looking people, man.
Yeah, Bieber just sort of runs through him, I guess.
He does.
But Mateo, you were saying earlier that you're a fan of the 7 Years by Lucas Graham.
I really like that joint. First time I heard it, like I didn't even know who it was. I'm like, who's this guy? And I like Googled him real quick, and I was actually working when I heard it. We were driving from city to city. I travel for work, and heard it again, and I'm like, yo, this song is like, I dig it. Like every 7 years, like he's sees himself or where his friends are at, is what his parents think about, and where his father's gonna be, and himself. And I think it's dope. I really like it.
Yeah,
it just made me like, it gives you perspective on things, on how short life can be and what you do with it.
And that's definitely a well-written song. I mean, that one is nominated for both Record of the Year and Song of the Year. So.
And it seems like, is he a newer artist or?
Well, I think with the Grammys, it's mostly these guys have been clawing away for a while, and then they come up. Best new artist usually isn't new.
Yeah.
So
because I've never heard of him until that song.
Right. Best recently popular artist.
Yeah.
He's up against some heavyweights.
He is.
Right.
He is.
I'd like to see him take it, but
who's in that category? Yeah.
Formation. The Bieber joint, like he's going up against.
So
some heavy
I actually have an embarrassing thing to say about 7 Years. When I first heard that song, I swear to God, I thought it was a Coheed and Cambria song.
Really?
When he got to the high pitch, like he sounded like the guy from Coheed and Cambria to me. I don't know why.
What's his name? Claudio.
Claudio. I was like, man, Coheed got really poppy all of a sudden. So when I found it was Lucas Graham, I was a little disappointed. I thought it was some weird part to this Coheed and Cambria, thing that they're doing. But alas.
I think it's really cool you have a songwriter here talking about that, because I listen to that song. I don't write music on a daily, weekly basis. And it's nice to hear somebody who tells stories in their songs talk about this extremely popular song and the way that it affected him. And Mateo's told me stories about the way he approaches songs and things like that. So it's really cool to see that a song on that level really resonated with somebody who I personally feel is a storyteller and writes, pretty good narratives into his work.
So is that what it is with Song of the Year? Because a lot of these songs really do have sort of a personal feel to them.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to be something that resonates with people. Is that something you put in your music too, Mateo?
Yeah, I do. I do storytelling. Sometimes I just have fun with it. Sometimes it's just crazy lyrics, like some shock culture, Eminem type stuff. It depends on the feel of the beat or the musicianship with other musicians, or even what I feel at the time. Like, oh, I got to talk about rioting, or I got to talk about love, or whatever. You know? It just depends on the artist. And my music isn't really pop culture, so I can really do whatever I want.
Yeah,
and
it's a different
be happy
thing.
with it.
Do you think you could ever write for somebody like Justin Bieber or the Chainsmokers or somebody?
It depends. It really depends. I've written some songs for other artists. Well, it's like a feature for me, and it's like not in my genre, so I'll tap into what they want, but they're still like, be yourself, and then it's like, when they say that, it's like, oh, be myself, okay, but I can still cater to production and the other artists as well. I think it'd be fun writing
for
somebody else.
Yeah,
I did it in high school for a few rappers.
I would write for Justin Bieber. I mean,
what about like outside of your genre? Have you ever had like an urge or an impulse to get outside your genre, not whether or not you're performing or not, but write the song and be a little bit experimental?
I would do it. It hasn't crossed my path yet, but I would definitely do it.
Somebody ask this dude to write you a song, please.
Yeah,
I want to hear it,
and it'll be a Grammy nominated song.
I think it'd be fun.
I want an 80s rock love ballad.
Anything.
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love to see Tampa Bay come up in a conversation about songwriters. I mean, everybody talks about Nashville and people go down to LA and things like that. But it'd be cool to start hearing about, because there probably are people here that are writing some great songs that are getting recorded by some big names. And I would like to start having that conversation for sure.
Yeah, there's quite a few out here.
The key is finding ways, like we said, to connect it to somebody that's bigger in the pop sphere who can give the song a wider reach.
Just find the people to pitch to, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's kind of why you're here, too, right?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. So one other thing I do have to say about these categories is the song Stressed Out by 21 Pilots, by far my least favorite song out of all the songs nominated. I know I'm going to piss off a lot of 16 and 17-year-old girls, but I really hate that song.
All my friends are heathens. Take it slow.
I don't even know what you're referring to.
Is
that a lyric?
Stressed Out? Oh, okay.
It's another one of
Yeah.
I like that one. That one was
I
cool.
think that was actually good.
Yeah.
I drove from Vegas to Arizona for like a spring training game with my cousin, and he didn't have an aux cord in his car, so all we had to listen to was FM radio, and I heard that song Stressed Out so much in that like 5-6 hour drive that by the time we got there I was stressed out. Like I was so stressed I couldn't do it. Literally when we went on the way home, we had to stop at a gas station and I bought an aux cable because I just could not do it.
Yeah, it's funny how music can do like this. Just so like subject, it's so different between people, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that's their life anthem, bro.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get, and I can see how like lyrically, I know I'm not asking the 21 Pilots for like great lyricism, but I can see how people can relate to it and everything. I hearing it over and over again on the radio. That's kind of what I think about when I think about record of the year versus song of the year. Is I think about which song, because I've heard all these songs a million times throughout this year, which song has annoyed me the least. And that's my choice for record of the year, which honestly might be Work by Rihanna and Drake.
See, for me, it's Formation. I mean, Work is a great song, but Formation, it's such a great song, and she didn't put it out everywhere to be heard. I mean, it wasn't like a song that you really heard on the radio a ton. Like, and then there's that Big Frida little break
that
in
was
there,
cool.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
she's coming here soon too.
I know, man. I've been trying to talk to her, and she's busy. So,
damn, Big Frida, make some time for us.
I think that one's gonna win.
Yeah, you think
I wanted
Formation win? I could see it.
There's some good songs in there, but I'm not a
I'll
big
choose
Beyonce
Formation
fan.
or 7 Years. Those are my probably two favorites.
It definitely had the most unique release of all the songs.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, but that's also why I think she might get album of the year, just because it was such an interesting way to release an album in this day and age.
But when you're voting, I mean, are you like, all right, well, I already voted for that album of the year, so I'm not. Even if it is the best song or record of the year, like, what if it is the best?
Yeah, I didn't consider that when I voted.
Okay,
I didn't think like, okay, I already voted. I didn't. But if I had already voted for Drake 5 times, that meant I was just going to stop and not vote for Drake. I tried to look at each one as it's sort of in a vacuum, and try to figure out. But it's hard to do, because you look at album of the year, record of the year, song of the year, and the same names are in it a lot. Beyonce and Adele are in every single category. Moving on a little bit though, this is one I'm actually intrigued by, and that's Best New Artist. So I don't know what a Kelsey Ballerina is. I
don't know her either.
But we got the Chainsmokers, Chance the Rapper, this Maren Morris, and Anderson .Paak.
I don't know Maren Morris either.
Maren Morris, I think a
country-ish, but that
pop-ish.
80s Mercedes song is that's a pop song. I mean,
Sure.
That sounded like a Taylor Swift leftover, in my opinion.
It probably was.
It really did. I mean, no disrespect.
Yeah, no. Some of Taylor Swift's leftovers are still better than a lot of other people's main
for
courses.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a neat video, but
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah.
But I'm Anderson .Paak all day.
See,
like I saw him
Renee's
live.
nodding
I got
over
to
here.
meet him. I met him at Orpheum when he was on tour with Earl Sweatshirt, and there was like maybe 600 people there, and there's only 4 people just going like this when he was on. Everybody else was just like, "Who's this guy?" And I'm like,
are you talking about
people
this last
have no
Earl
idea.
Sweatshirt show at the Orpheum?
Yeah.
Wow, that was like less than 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's maybe a year.
Yeah, less than a year maybe.
Yeah,
It was insane.
on.
And I met him. We talked for like 15 minutes. And then I hit him up on Twitter. I'm like, these people have no idea who Anderson .Paak is. You failed, Tampa. And he retweeted it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I've heard some stories that I'm not allowed to talk about in terms of his booking history. here and opportunities and things like that. And it is amazing that story you just told, and that a lot of people did sleep on that until Malibu came out.
Sure.
I mean, I'm definitely
Crazy.
guilty.
Yeah, a lot lot of us are. You know, sometimes that happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he's gonna do it. Although
I got
Chance the Rapper.
I was gonna say
know.
I have to give it to Chance the Rapper.
I want Anderson, but Chance is high up there.
Chance is arguably the biggest, like one of the biggest stars in music right now.
And I'm not a Chance fan at all.
See, I'm a big Chance fan.
I
Like,
maybe like
Chance.
4 songs, if that.
see, because I was
Out of all of his discography.
I was living in Chicago when Chance came up, and I remember a friend of mine emailing me the wave files from 10 Day. So this was before, you know, he started to really blow up, and everybody in Chicago was bumping Chance and loving Chance. And I remember sitting on my front porch in Chicago and listening to that record and hearing like somebody from the south side of Chicago has a positive message, because this was a time when the biggest thing was Chief Keef, you know, and like, so to go
Everyone's
from
getting shot.
yeah. So to go from that to Chance the Rapper, who's like making music that is positive, and you know, now to see him grow and get on SNL and to bring even more positivity to his music is just I don't know. I love Chance the Rapper, and I want to see him take this award and every other award that he's nominated for. Spoiler alert, you know. But like, I really like. I'm all about what Chance is doing. I think him and his team, Pat the manager, is a good dude, and they know what they're doing, and they're doing music the right way. I think it's not a label thing. It's just straight up. He's making great music. He's getting popular. The entire city got behind him. Everybody in Chicago knew who Chance was way before the rest of the world did, and then now the rest of the world is finding out. So. I don't think there's any greater artist to pick for best new artist.
I think he'll take it, and I like his optimism and everything. I'm a
Yeah.
very optimistic person. I'm just not a fan. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
don't
that's
really rock with the
understandable.
beats.
Yeah.
I like his message. I like production as well.
Yeah.
I'm not big on his voice, even though I like people with crazy voices like E40 or Danny Brown. You know,
I know a lot of people like really get annoyed with some of his ad libs, but it's like nah, you know, all that.
Are we talking about Danny Brown, or are we talking about?
No, Danny Brown.
Are we talking about Chance? Oh yeah.
But you know, to each his own.
Yeah.
Everybody has their likes and dislikes.
Yeah,
I think the biggest shame if Chance does take that over Anderson is that musically. But you're right. I mean, you look at the persona and everything like
Yeah.
that. Musically, Malibu is crazy. I'm not taking anything away from Chance's record, but
yeah. Yeah, because
man.
I thought Coloring Book was from top to bottom like an amazing record.
Yeah,
you know?
I couldn't. I liked like 2 songs off of that.
Oh, man.
And one of them was like a 2-minute song. That
Yeah.
juke joint.
Yeah,
song,
yeah.
I just couldn't rock with it.
I think
But-
Anderson is going to have a huge year this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
This is
No,
gonna
I think
be
this is-
crazy. I mean, he's opening up for Bruno Mars on most of those dates, and he was
crazy.
already on Ellen or whatever.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, anybody that has a soul, and if they listen to Malibu, I mean,
It's
it lifts
great.
you up, man. It literally, if music could pick you up off the ground, that album would do that.
His production's great. He produces a lot of the music. He plays drums. He,
Yeah.
he sings, raps. He's got great features on there
Yeah.
as well.
I wonder what Vegas says.
Yeah, what are the Vegas odds? Michelle, can you pull up the Vegas odds? The Grammy Vegas odds. So I think we can all agree though that the chain smokers are out. We're not high on the chain smokers in this room.
I feel bad because when I was writing that Nickelback story today, Chainsmokers kept coming up
Yeah.
as like the Nickelback of EDM.
Oh.
And that is just I mean, that is just not fair. I mean,
True.
I mean, it might be fair,
Yeah.
critically, but it's just such an easy. I mean, they're already in the toilet at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, they had that Billboard article where they definitely pissed off a lot of people in the music industry and just people in
Chainsmokers
general.
did?
Yeah, the chain smokers where
What happened?
they talked about they just made a lot of like misogynistic kind of sexist comments, talked about how they're basically doing music to get laid and that they're trying to get bigger just to get hotter girls.
They're
Which-
just frat boys that had, like, they're actual frat boys that
Yeah.
were in their dorm room, bought some equipment, and started making, like, beats or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that mentality is not going to change. If you go to their website, there's a number on their website, and they've explicitly said that that's the total number of inches between the two of them in terms of like their dick size.
Wait. So on their website they have
Randy's doing Jason. I'm sorry, Jason's doing a Google image search right now.
Yeah, Jason's wait. So they have on their website the combined.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Say the number. I don't know the number is, but it's like 15 or something. And they're like, yo, that's like.
Wait. That's their combined dick size. But why is that relevant though? Like, because I mean, I would understand if they split it up individually, but like they're not both gonna.
What if one of them's got a 12-incher and one of them has a 3-incher?
Yeah.
That would be an interesting story.
Definitely.
You don't know who's who. Yeah, you don't know.
But how much of that is management
50-50
telling them to come
chance.
up with this absurd story so that, because really at the end of the day, they're getting attention for some stupid shit that they said.
Where do I find this inch thing?
I'm gonna look up.
And I'm not big on their songs or their production. It sounds like, you know.
It sounds pretty phony.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't speak to me. I mean,
Yeah, but it apparently speaks to a lot of frat boys.
Well, because a lot of the artists they're working with are like, you know, just kind of popular singers in that age 16 to like 22.
Yeah.
That are just SoundCloud artists that have a lot of likes and views, and it spreads quickly.
Jeez.
it is strange to, I mean, you probably see it all the time. You land on a website and you're like, whoa, like the social metrics and some of the internet metrics don't seem to coincide with the quality of the music. And
Oh,
it
I see
throws
that.
you for
I
a
see
loop
that all
for
the
sure.
time.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to misrepresent an artist and say, just because I don't get it doesn't mean a lot of people don't.
Right.
But then is it
So they
pay
have a
for
following.
play? Do you buy likes? You know, what is it? So,
I mean, I think they're even playing at Okeechobee. I think
Yeah,
they're
I
on
think
that
they are.
festival and a few other festivals.
and they just announced like a headlining tour that was pretty big news.
No, I mean clearly they're one of the biggest artists coming up right now. But Michelle, do you have the numbers for us?
According to their Billboard article, the controversial one, they said that the studs revealed they're working with 17.34 inches tip to tip amongst the two of them, alongside the tagline, "Think about it." If you go to their website, it says, boasting about their baby makers, the boys are proud to admit their measurements are posted on the group's official webpage. Way to make a statement. They added, "Oh yeah, that's our penis sizes combined, tip to tip. Yowza."
Okay, so 17.34
Tip to tip.
Tip to tip, yeah, is what, 8.67 each, and that's like totally cool by them. But I know they're not exactly the same size. They don't stand against each other and touch each other at the same time. So how do you get 8 2/3 to say exactly 17.34? Couldn't you just round 17 inches?
It's either they're really like this or they just love the shock value
Yeah.
of it. And
I mean, cool.
But do it.
On top of during the Grammys.
That's well, maybe if they
Now
win,
I kind of want them to win because I want
Yeah.
to see what they say
Yeah,
on the
just-
microphone.
right, or just to see if they whip it out like on stage. You know, that would be impressive.
Now I'm just going to be
Viral.
counting the number of crotch grabs by the chain smokers at the Grammys.
it'd be good for their tour. Their
Yeah.
tours might sell out.
Oh,
Jeez.
jeez, the chain smokers.
We just
All right.
love them for no reason.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So, moving on gracefully to Best Rock Album, we have a category with Blink-182, Panic at the Disco, and Weezer all nominated in the year 2017. Thoughts?
I didn't listen to any of these albums.
But can you believe that Weezer and Blink-182 are nominated for Best Rap Album in 2017?
You said rap
Weezer,
album?
or
Rap
rap
rock?
album? Yeah.
I was like, I definitely can't believe that.
That would be amazing. Best Rock Album.
I mean, did they had a strong comeback in 2016?
It's either that or there just weren't a lot of great records, which is
There
not
had to
true
be,
because there were a
yeah.
ton of great records that are
Yeah.
eligible for that, I'm
Definitely.
sure. So
But it makes me sad because I look at Best Rock Album and then I look at Best Rap Album.
I'm not a fan of any of them.
But
I like some songs by Gojira, but they're not gonna take it.
that's who my pick would be.
Yeah.
I mean, even musically, I'm not trying to take anything away from Rivers or.
because I liked the new Weezer album. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
But I mean, that metal album should win. I mean,
Yeah, right.
right?
Yeah, I mean that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's the thing then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Gojira really still even a rock album, or should it be a metal
I'd
album?
call it metal.
Yeah, but
still.
I mean, I think in the grand scheme, I like the fact that it's in that category because it means there is, some acknowledgement that was a heavy, great rock, guitar album that was loud. It was rock music. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like to Michelle's point, God, I hope a bunch of people start listening to that album.
Sure.
You know?
People are
Yeah.
definitely gonna look them up, see like
Yeah.
who is this band?
Yeah, who's
You know?
Gojira?
So it's
Yeah.
a
And
good
they're gonna
look for
listen
them.
to it.
They win, and then they just walk up on stage, and people are like,
But like who's?
They won't be playing the Ritz next time. That's for sure. Right?
Yeah,
No,
Play
yeah,
the Ritz, I
definitely
think.
won't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
tough.
yeah.
Yeah.
But see, then why aren't they performing? Why is Metallica performing over Gojira?
Everybody knows why Metallica's performing.
There's a lot of really good nominations for Best Alternative Music Album. I think representatively, I think this is the best album category. Bon Iver,
Yeah.
David Bowie, PJ Harvey, Iggy Pop, and the new Radiohead. I mean, those are all great records that I actually listened to,
I would go for Bon or David.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Bon Iver's album is my favorite out of all of them, but I'm a big Radiohead fan too, so I can't knock that. And I love the David Bowie album also.
Yeah, Bowie will probably win. Was it the best record or what was it? Best
Best
alternative
music album.
alternative music? Yeah, I mean that was a great piece of
Yeah.
work, and I
Yeah.
like the Bon Iver album a lot. I don't know, that one's kind of a toss up, but I think Bowie will win.
Yeah, I think out of respect, I think the Bowie will win. And this is another one of those situations where, going back to what I said at the beginning, everybody in the Recording Academy who's a voting member gets to vote on every category. So this is something where I think people are probably just going through, seeing David Bowie and checking him off and voting for him.
Yeah.
And not that that's a bad thing necessarily, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that voted for this category that haven't listened to Bon Iver or PJ Harvey or even
Right.
Radiohead, But David Bowie's David Bowie.
Yeah, I didn't get to
So-
check out the PJ Harvey album. I'll have to peep that out.
She's just so
And-
legendary too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And I have a lot of friends that love Radiohead, but I've just never been a fan. I respect them.
Yeah.
They're great musicians. They've been in the game forever, but I just can never rock with them.
I'm the same. I mean, I always talk about how I think that they're a little, and Radiohead fans will crucify me for saying this, but I think they are a little overrated considering the current state of music and how much great music is available that they probably ushered in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah,
coming up.
definitely.
They definitely
Are better,
influenced
but-
a lot of the
And I don't
great
think Tom York really gives a fuck about what people think about him
They definitely-
anyway.
He definitely does not.
So, I don't feel bad saying that, and I'm grateful for what he did for music. But music as it is today, Radiohead is not just another band, but there's definitely it's getting a little crowded behind him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, Radiohead.
Sorry. We still like you more than the Chainsmokers, though.
Yeah, definitely.
That's for sure.
That's not saying anything, though, man.
yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So, a couple more categories, then we'll wrap up here. Best rap album, which I actually think is a tough one for this year. You got Chance the Rapper's Coloring Book, an amazing album from De La Soul, DJ Khaled's Snapchat album Major Key, Drake's Views, Schoolboy Q's Blank Face, and The Life of Pablo. Who you taking, Mateo?
This is who I want to win.
Okay.
I want Schoolboy Q.
Yeah.
Because I love West Coast.
Mhm.
I love TDE, even though Absol is my favorite out of TDE. But the Blank Face album and the music videos were
Yeah.
awesome. Like,
See, this is actually my least favorite Schoolboy Q album, but I'm glad that he's nominated. 'Cause
I think it's awesome
like
that he's
all
in
of his
there,
work.
you know?
So that's
and
really cool.
I know you want Chance.
I've already said I'm going for Chance. Coloring Book's probably the album out of all of these that I've listened to the most.
That's probably
So,
gonna win.
Yeah.
Even though I want Schoolboy, but I still didn't get to listen to the whole De La album.
That's a great album too. I'd love to see them take
The
it.
DJ Khaled, so. Views. I'm not big on Drake, but the production is great. You
Yeah.
know, his producers are awesome, and I wasn't feeling the Kanye West.
Yeah. Did anybody like The Life of Pablo?
I think everybody was angry at that record and that release, and that guy fucked the whole thing up. I mean,
Yeah, it's
every other song is kind of good. Some are really good, but overall,
some I don't like at all.
when you
It's
have
like-
to re-release an album because you're unhappy with the mix,
Ugh.
yeah.
when you're purportedly an artist who does whatever they want anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, come on, man. Like, I have no remorse. The record blew, and I hope you put out a better one.
Yeah.
Honestly,
my favorite part of Life of Pablo was the Chance the Rapper feature. Like right at the beginning, that was my favorite part. After that, I kind of lost it.
But yeah, Schoolboy and Chance.
I think Schoolboy might be the dark horse there.
Yeah,
I think he could actually take that. Especially, I don't know how people vote on it, but if Chance gets Best New Artist, then
I'll be tagging you guys on Facebook if that happens.
But I thought that's a good category too. Like the alternative music album, at least those are all. I don't know what I can say. I've never actually listened to the DJ Khaled album, but I think these are all at least good artists in the rap sphere.
Yeah, and very relevant. Even De La Soul came back hard with having their fans contribute and letting them pick who they want to feature, and I think that's awesome.
That's a good
fans
move.
like that.
Yeah.
So best compilation soundtrack for visual media. It's tough because I really enjoyed Vinyl simply for the music. The show was god awful, but no, it's cool because they actually the Essential Season 1 is various artists that covered music for the musicians that they were hosting. So they had a young David Bowie, so they had someone cover a David Bowie song, and some of it was almost identical to the original recording. Some of it was a completely different take on it. So I know Amy Mann covered Yesterday Once More by the Carpenters, and it's almost identical to Karen Carpenter. So I would say Vinyl, but the Amy soundtrack could take it simply because there's a good portion of Amy Winehouse on there, and she is a Grammy, Recording Academy favorite. Straight Outta Compton, untouchable, soundtrack. It was a good movie, but my pick for personal decision, I would say Vinyl, but I think it could go to Amy. Best score, I'm going Stranger Things, either Volume 1 or Volume 2. Personally, I like Volume 1 more just because there's a few tracks on there that I genuinely enjoyed, but I think Stranger Things takes it because it sat on that chart for, soundtracks at number 1 for a good 7 weeks consecutive. So
how do you feel about both of them being both Volume 1 and Volume 2 being?
It just speaks volumes to no pun intended. It really does speak to Kyle Dixon and Michael Steen being able to really come together and bring something that is new and accessible but still very nostalgic, just like Stranger Things was.
Yeah, perfect.
Without Winona Ryder or the Demogorgon or that incredible cast and the production, everything of Stranger Things, that soundtrack is what makes Stranger Things Stranger Things. I think everyone can sit there and truly feel what the great experience of watching that season through that soundtrack. So putting both of them on there, well deserved, and either one of them takes it, that's fine. They walk away with a win.
I'm cool with that because the band Survive, who did the theme and part of the other soundtrack. Oh,
yeah, and it speaks to the way that people consume the show too. They have to be on there together. I mean, that show was mass consumed, and
it feels like you're in the 80s,
was too.
Straight up. It's dope.
And to your point, I think you're right. I think without the music, as good as the show was, right? I don't think that it would have been the same without it. And I think for most of those, you can go with that. Maybe not Star Wars and The Revenant, maybe, but I mean, you got to think Tarantino might take it too.
I was going to say Michelle, our intern and resident film expert here, she's gonna hate me for this, but the only thing that I've actually seen from the score soundtrack was Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I haven't seen Stranger Things. I haven't seen Hateful Eight. I'm sorry.
You got to see all.
I know. I'm just so bad at actually watching.
Hateful Eight, trying to figure out things is. It's dope.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on the Grammys? Anything to add to this wild discussion that we've had?
I guess the question is, proclaim whether or not you're actually going to watch them live. Is that what I mean? Well, I'll definitely watch it afterwards.
Definitely afterwards. I'm gonna try to watch the Anderson .Paak Tribe live, and then I got to go do what I got to do.
I got a very wonderful invitation to the Grammys from the Recording Academy that I enjoy the look of the invitation, and I looked at it and I did not I did not RSVP acceptance.
Why?
So, I just didn't want to go out to LA right now. So I wanted
my
to.
heart.
I know.
Yeah.
Next year,
I
I'll
love
go
Cali.
next. I might go next year.
hoping that we can go, and he's like,
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. But it also sold out very quickly because you do actually, even if you're in the Recording Academy, you still have to pay for the ticket. So you have to send in an order form and everything, and it sold out within like the first couple days. So even if I had wanted to, I probably wouldn't have jumped on it quick enough. Yeah, exactly. But I love the invitation. I'm going to put that up on my desk. So thank you, Recording Academy, for inviting me this year. Maybe I'll see you next year. Oh, I'm taking home the most Grammys. That's for damn sure. Fucking Jason stealing my lines.